You ever wonder how some companies, like a Nike or a Starbucks, just seem to get you? It feels like they're reading your mind, right? Well, it's not magic. It's actually a super powerful strategy called market segmentation. It's really the difference between just shouting into a crowd and hoping someone listens versus pulling the right person aside for a real conversation. So the big question is, how do they do it? How do they find those perfect customers? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
First, we'll get into why trying to be everything to everyone just doesn't work. Then, we're going to look at the main ways marketers slice and dice the market. After that, we'll see how they actually choose which slice of the pie to go after. And to wrap it all up, we'll touch on the really important stuff, the ethical responsibility that comes with all this.
All right, let's kick things off with a fundamental issue here. We live in this big, diverse world, right? So trying to sell one single thing to everybody, it's like trying to find one song that every single person at a giant party will love. It's not going to happen.
I mean, it sounds great in theory, doesn't it? Just sell to everybody. But the truth is, when you try to please everyone, you usually end up not really exciting anyone. Your message just becomes background noise because it isn't speaking directly to what someone truly wants or needs. It's a massive waste of effort.
And that, right there, is why market segmentation is such a game changer. This isn't about just chopping up the population randomly. No, it's more like a strategic hunt to find those specific groups of people that a company knows it can make happier than anyone else can. It's all about finding that sweet spot where what you're good at perfectly matches what they're looking for.
So how do marketers even begin to slice up this massive consumer pie? Well, the first couple of cuts are usually the most obvious ones, where people live and, who they are. We're talking about geography and demographics. This can be super broad, like a whole country, or incredibly specific, like a single zip code. But the really smart move here is what they call grassroots marketing. Think about Bed Bath & Beyond in a city like Manhattan. They know their shoppers live in small apartments and probably don't have a car to get to a hardware store. So what do? They stock wall paint. It's a tiny tweak, but it tells the customer, hey, we see you. We get what it's like to live here. And then you've got demographics. This one is super popular, and for a good reason. It's easy to get the data, and things like your age, your gender, or how much you make are often tied directly to what you need and what you want to buy. For a killer example of gender segmentation, just look at Victoria's Secret. The founder had this really simple but brilliant insight. Women need underwear, but they want lingerie. That little shift in thinking from something practical to something desirable, and then building a whole store experience around it, let them create an absolute empire, all by focusing on what a specific female audience wanted. Every single generation is shaped by the world it grew up in. The music, the tech, the big cultural moments, all of it shapes how we see the world and, of course, what we buy. So for marketers, this is absolutely crucial. They know that the way you connect with a millennial, who's basically been online since they were born, is going to be completely different from how you connect with a pragmatic, figure-it-out-yourself Gen Xer. And that's different again from talking to a baby boomer who has massive spending power and is totally changing what it means to get older. Okay, but demographics, they don't tell the whole story, do they? Knowing someone's age and where they live doesn't tell you what they care about, what gets them excited, or what keeps them up at night. To really understand people, you have to go deeper. You have to get into their heads. And that's what psychographics is all about. It's basically the science of understanding the why behind the buy. It's a mashup of psychology and demographics, and one of the most famous tools for this is a system called VALS. The whole VALS system is built on this really interesting idea that all of us are driven by one of three main things. Are you motivated by your principles and your beliefs? Then you're driven by ideals. Are you driven by success and wanting to show it off? That's achievement. Or maybe you just crave adventure, social connection, and new experiences. Well, that's self-expression. So let's make this real. A thinker who's motivated by ideals is going to buy a car based on its safety rating and how reliable it is. An achiever might buy a luxury car to show that they've made it. And an experiencer, they're going to want the sports car that's just plain fun to drive. See how that adds a completely different dimension? It's not just about who the customer is, it's about what truly makes them tick. Okay, so we've looked at where people are, who they are, and what drives them. What's left? Well, the last big piece of the puzzle is all about what people actually do. This is where we stop talking about what people might do and start looking at what they actually do. Behavioral segmentation is all about how people interact with a product. Take coffee, for instance.
Are you buying it every morning on your way to work, or is it a special weekend treat? Your actual behavior is what puts you in a segment. This wine example is just perfect. You can have two people buying the exact same bottle of wine for totally different reasons. One person, the image seeker, might buy it to look sophisticated at a dinner party. The other, the savvy shopper, is buying it because it's a fantastic wine for the price. It's the same product, but they're looking for completely different benefits, and that means they're in two different marketing segments. And you can break this down even further. Marketers look at things like user status. Are you trying to get someone to try your product for the first time, or are you trying to keep your regulars happy? They look at loyalty. Are you a ride or die fan, or will you jump ship for a better deal? And this one's huge. Usage rate. That stat about heavy beer drinkers is wild, right? A small group of superfans can be way more valuable than a huge group of people who only buy once in a while. All right, so the company's done the work. They've sliced the market up every which way. Now they have to make the call. Which slice of this pie are we actually going to try and eat?
Just because you can identify a segment doesn't mean it's a good one to target. So marketers put them through this 5-point checklist. Is it measurable? Like, can we figure out how many people are in it? Is it substantial enough to actually make money? Is it accessible? Can we even reach these people? Is it differentiable? Meaning, will they react to our marketing differently than other groups? And finally, is it actionable? Can we really create a marketing plan that will work for them? If you get a no on any of these, it's back to the drawing board. So once they've got their promising segments, companies have a big choice to make. They can go with undifferentiated marketing. That's the classic Henry Ford model. One car for everyone, and you can have it in any color you want as long as it's black. Or they can do what Hallmark does and use differentiated marketing, where they have a different product, a different card for basically every single human being and life event you can possibly think of.
But there's a third option, and that's to go deep instead of wide. That's concentration, or what we call niche marketing. Tom's of Maine is a fantastic example. They didn't even try to compete in the massive toothpaste market. Instead, they focused like a laser on one small group, people who only want all-natural products. And by becoming the undisputed champion of that niche, they built a brand so strong that their customers are more than happy to pay extra for it.
We've seen just how powerful all these segmentation tools can be. But, with great power comes great responsibility. And that brings us to our final and maybe most important point, the ethics of it all.
And really, this quote nails it. Targeting people isn't automatically a bad thing. I mean, making a fun toothpaste that makes kids want to brush their teeth, that's great for everyone. The problem starts when marketers use these tools to take advantage of vulnerable people. Think targeting folks in debt with sketchy, high-interest loans, or using data to prey on someone's deepest insecurities. The tool itself is neutral. It's the intent behind it that counts. And that leaves us with this really big question, especially today. With all the data companies have, they can personalize things for us in ways that are amazing, but where does it cross the line? At what point does smart, helpful personalization turn into unfair or even harmful prejudice? That's the tightrope that every single marketer has to walk today, and it's something we should all be thinking about.